Hello, welcome back to Silver State RC Adventures with Trevor. Today, I'm going to be going over some upgrades here for the Element Enduro Trailrunner 4x4 ready to run. I have put on two of the items first on this side just to go ahead and get a good idea of what I'm getting myself into before the video, and it is going to be very treacherous. This IFS in the front is no fun to work on. You are left with very limited space in between the universal axle joint there for two very awkwardly sized nuts. They are a 5.5 millimeter wrench to use, so do be prepared to have one of those ready to do this install. Also, it might be a good idea to have like some needle nose pliers or any type of like vice grip, something to hold stuff on with or press things in, because things are not going to be easy with these brass parts. I ran into an issue with these that it seems they have the tolerances very perfect, so perfect that it is a little bit of a fight to get these ball ends on the top and lower control arms there into these holes. I guess it's kind of good so that way you don't just slide them in right away, because you do have to leave a little bit of the thread poking out so you can get the nut on. If you push it all the way through and trying to get the nut on, you will have a clearance issue here with that universal joint and the nut not allowing you to put the screw on and tighten it, so you will have to fight it back out with that tight squeeze that is in there to ultimately give yourself enough room to put that nut on, thus increasing the likelihood of you cursing, screaming, and throwing stuff around, breaking stuff like that. Unfortunately, I did not do any of that yet, which was good. But yeah, that was fun to put on. That was almost like working on a real truck, having to remove the lower and upper ball joint on the upper and lower control arms when you go to remove the spindle and things like that. Like I found it just as hard as almost. I'm not saying it's that hard, but you'll get what I'm saying when you go to do this yourself sometime. So I do really like these. The finish is super cool. It's like a gunmetal color almost, with a little bit of bronze like poking out. Real cool, really trick looking. I am really impressed with how this came out, because just seeing regular old boring brass on everything is just it gets a little excessive, too much bling bling and stuff like that, which is, I guess, never a bad case, but for me it was just getting a little excessive. That's why I kind of use some of the Samex parts on my truck too, to blend some of that back in. Up next after that, we will be doing the SSD brass suspension shock mount, link mount things that are going to go right on your rear drive axle. Same thing, awesome little finish on it, great little piece. These were actually very easy to install, so I recommend doing the steering knuckles first, so that way it's all easy going right after that for you. Up next, I will be throwing on the SSD brass rear diff cover as well. Again, I just really loved how this looked. I was going to do that Samex black one with some of the chamfered like brass pieces sticking out and things like that. It looked really cool, but then I saw this and I was like, oh sweet, well let me just go ahead and get all the SSD gunmetal brass stuff, just because that looks super trick in my opinion. It even gives you like a little detail, like you've got a little weld on, oh darn it, I'm running out of the words for what they call that right now, skid plate. A little skid plate that you would weld on, essentially to your diff case right there, so that way you don't crack it open or anything like that. So that's pretty cool, just a little detail in it and everything like that. Didn't put this on yet, obviously, because I'm holding it in my hand, but I'm assuming it's a very easy install, because it will just be 4 screws, pull this out the back, slide it right in through the back again, giggity, and tighten the 4 screws, and yeah, you're all set in that part. So that should be pretty easy as well. We'll find out here shortly, but yeah. Anyways, this might be a pretty lengthy video. I will try and speed this part up, because this part did take me some time right here, but after going through it with this right here, I believe I should be able to get this down part a lot faster for you as well. Once at the end, I do have a little cheap battery pack that I have just sitting that I use for randomness. I'll plug this in. I'll show you how bright these lights are that I mounted in the front bumper yesterday. Actually pretty bright, kind of cool. They started off a little dim, they warmed up and then started getting like a really bright blue, so it kind of like almost gave you that HID effect when you go to turn on your car. The HIDs, you know, have a low pulse at first and then they brighten up into a nice warm light, which I found kind of cool. I don't know if they did it on purpose or maybe I'm just tripping, I don't know. But yeah, let me go ahead and get this other front steering knuckle done for you. I'll get this other shock mount on there for you, and then we'll go ahead and get the rear diff cover on there for you as well. So bear with me, and I will be essentially right back here once I get with all the parts done on the truck. Okay, yeah, so just let you know here, it's going to be 2 screws, go right on top of this steering arm there. It's going to go onto your steering knuckles. Just pop those right out there. You can actually just leave that attached to the steering link right there as well, just because this is just going to be out of the way. The steering knuckle is going to go on here, then you can slide that back over, put the 2 screws in, good to go. Almost forgot to mention that you will need this 2mm hex drive as well to get all that stuff done. Yeah, so I'll be right back with you again. Bear with me 1 second. We'll get the arm on, or the steering control knuckle right on there as well. Oh, before I forget, actually, right here on the inside, after you pull off the plastic hex nut, it's going to be a little pin in there, usually what you would see in your short force vehicles. Axle will slide out. The front outer bearing can stay in there. They supply you with 2 5x11 bearings that will go in the front, so the 5x10s. As you will see, you try to put them in, they're a little loose, and you sit there and start flipping the bearing around. I have a whole bunch of Fast Eddy bearings, so I just went ahead and just used one of my Fast Eddy's bearings in there, just because might as well just upgrade everything while I'm already here. The only one you will reuse, if you choose to do so, or use some of the Fast Eddy bearings like I do, you'll just go ahead and pull out this inside bearing, and that's going to go right on the inside of the steering knuckle there. It's going to be fun to get in. You will need to press it in. Don't be afraid to throw a Macho Man, Randy Savage flying elbow drop onto it or something, because yeah, it's going to be really fun. The front one goes in with ease. Right after that, your issues are going to be, I'll try and show you right now, that does not slide in there with any ease at all, or so just make sure you get those threads through enough. You can kind of start them after that and get the nut on. Once you get the nut on, you can sit there and just kind of press as hard as you need to get them all in. That way you don't strip the threads on these screws here as well. So yeah, just little tips and tricks there to give you guys a heads up on, because it is going to be very interesting to install. Yeah, just the lower upper control arm is just lots of fun on top of that bearing getting pressed in. Just give me 1 minute here. I'm going to pull out the old bearing. This one, just give you guys a little insight of how to do it. What I wound up using is a nice little 1.5mm hex driver that I've got here. Pull it inside just in here, and you might have to get it like a couple times. And ultimately what I've been doing is just kind of like getting the hex driver on my stomach a little bit right there, so I can put two hands and just almost roll it like a joint, essentially, off yourself there, and it's gonna be a little stuck in there as well. As you can see me here, trying to talk and do it at the same time with you guys. It's gonna be a lot of fun, but it will come out eventually. Just keep trying. You know, as I say, try again until you get it. So, there we go. Pop that thing out. Yeah, forgot to also say that the two screws that go up here will not be reused. They supply you with 4 shorter ones, along with 4 OEM-sized ones as well here, with these little brass sleeves. I don't know if you're even going to be able to see them, they're so tiny. But let me do some magic trick Houdini stuff. All right, there we go. Yes, if you can see those little brass sleeves, you are not going to be using those for the IFS. The longer screws in the brass sleeves, I'm assuming, are for the solid axle, which I don't have, nor have I messed with the solid axle on an Element before, so I don't necessarily know that for sure. All I know is what works for the IFS kit as of now. So you'll just go ahead and get this bearing, start sliding in there. It's going to almost look like it's home already right when you slide it in. It's not at all. You got to get that thing really in there. So I have a plastic slipper clutch tool that I have from my low-C. Fits the diameter of that perfect, so that way I don't have to worry about damaging the bearing when I'm pressing it in. I used this to kind of get it started. Once I got to a certain point, it just seemed like it did not want to go any further. So I did get one of these hex. One of these hexes here from my TRX4 Sport. Since I have the brass ones on there, I pulled this out and then I put it right on top. Again, covers the bearing very well once you slide it up over the middle there. And at that point, I just kind of really hammered it on with the bottom end of the screwdriver. Yeah, some caveman tactics there. So yeah, just watch me have some fun here for 1 second, and yeah. All right, there we go. We're finally. Sorry about all that time there. Did look like it was actually easier to use the hex off the driveline there, put it on top of the bearing, get yourself vice grip. What I did is I put a towel on either side, so of course I don't ruin the finish on this, and squeeze the living life out of it like you're trying to choke it out or something, you know, like Jake the Snake Roberts or whatever the case may be, whoever your favorite wrestler is. So now that we've got that finally all put together, you go ahead and grab your universal axle here. Go ahead and slide that shaft right in through the back end, giggity. And from there, it's all nice fully assembled. Make sure it all rolls good. Everything looks cool. All right, from that point, you can just slide it right back in there into the drive cups there. Pretty simple. All right, make sure you get the ball joints lined up in there accordingly. At this point, I found it easy to use needle nose plier to grab the awkwardly sized 5.5mm nuts they have supplied you. Again, I don't know what Element one's doing over there, but they've got some weird things. Okay. So once we go ahead and start just enough just to get it started. Well, at least with how tight this fitment is, you can tell parts are not going to go anywhere. And if you'd like, probably maybe even be a good idea if you've got a Dremel or something, just hollow it out like a little bit, but I don't mind the tight fitment. Hopefully I never have to take this off again, but we'll never know. We'll see. Just extremely fun to get on there. Let's see if maybe we can use a little bit of the needle nose and control arm here to maybe try and help get it started. It's just the hand motions, you've got to hold everything in place, and then while trying to do a whole bunch of other stuff with this truck is just a lot of fun. Whole lot of fun. It's almost like they don't want you to work on this thing. Almost. Seems like they might have a lot of faith in their product never breaking. I don't know. That could just be my personal opinion. Who knows? Right, and as you probably just saw there, I stripped the 2mm screw because this is such a pain in the ass to work with. So yeah, you will see some fun things coming your way installing these SSD brass steering knuckles. Definitely nowhere near like the fit and finish of a lot of my Racing and Samex products. That seem to just go right in. No fights, no nothing, slides right in, screw it on, walk away, play with your toy. This seems more like I am working on an actual truck and I want to start throwing stuff around my garage like a wild ape. So yeah. Have patience. If you smoke cigarettes, take shit tons of cigarette breaks in the middle of all this. Whatever you got to do to calm yourself, because you are going to want to destroy this truck messing with this IFS setup in the front. All right, that is the completion. Right there, it's very fun. When you go to put in the top of this little steering arm piece that goes in the steering knuckle, it is going into metal with the 2 screws, so I do recommend just a little bit of Loctite. It's always a good rule of thumb to do that with anything metal to metal contact, just so that way you don't have anything come undone on the trail, and then now you're trying to find a tiny little screw and a bunch of gravel. Seems like me and my friends have the eagle eye vision, and we find everything, and even other people's parts weeks, months later. It's always funny because then we post it up on our local Facebook page out here, just asking who lost this part, and then you'll see people chime in saying, "What the hell? How'd you find that? Where'd you find that? I've been looking for it forever." It's pretty funny. So yeah, maybe if you guys lose something out in Vegas, if you're ever out here on vacation doing some crawling, I'll find it, and maybe you'll see it on the internet one day and be like, "Holy crap, Trevor from RC Silver State Adventures found it." Alright, get the last screw in here. Just a little, there we go. Alright, cool. Front steering knuckles on. We will now move on to the rear shock suspension link mount here. Pretty easy. Coming from the back side, giggity. Two 2mm screws back there. There's going to be one on the side here that's going to be going through the shock link and holding your shock on there itself. So I'll turn that around like that real quick. Go ahead. Do these 2 screws real quick. This one's pretty easy, so I won't have to sit there and speed this one up over a giant period of time. I know, I guess I did start talking in the last one, so I'll just try and hopefully be able to speed up some of the parts where I wasn't, so that way you guys can hear me yell at this product. Alright, so we got those 2 off there. That seems to make it a lot easier. That way you can just right off the side here. You don't have to sit here and do anything weird. Very long screw. You can see my fingers just spinning away over here trying to get it off. Wow, okay. Alright, there's your stock plastic shock link mounts. Right, the last SSD link mount going on here. Make sure to put that little sideways eye hole facing upwards. So for me right now it's downwards, but it went on the truck on the ground. It should be facing upwards. Looks like you could probably just, it's a higher mounting point for your shocks to rise it for whatever case if you're throwing some bigger tires on it, which probably could be a good idea for this truck with how small the wheel wells are if you're going to a 1.9 tire. We'll find out. We'll see if it does any differences on the trails too. But so essentially it looks like a Lego piece right there. And it's going to slide right into its home there. Reuse those 2 same screws. After you get your 2 screws on there, go ahead and slide your shock link in there. It's a little stiff. Make sure if you go to take the shock off, little plastic spacer in between there. So just make sure you catch that if it falls off. Make sure it's there before you put it back on, or you're probably going to have a little bit of clearance issues there. This SSD part is kind of weird. It's threaded on both sides, so you just can't like slide the screw in, get it started, and then start screwing it. You are forced to start screwing it from the get-go, which kind of frustrated me at first because I was like, why don't I just go in? Oh yeah, let me look at it real quick, and it's threaded on both sides instead of just one singular side like usual. So be prepared for that. That way you don't just think the hole's too small or something. You won't really need to Loctite this just because it is threaded on both sides. And it was pretty stout when it went on and off, so I really don't see it coming loose. If it does, you should be able to catch it in time. These screws are like 1.5 inches long, or maybe an inch long, something like that. But bam, there's that one. That's all finished. Let's see, at least for the rear diff right now. I took off 2 of the screws. I was going to try and do all that at the same time while I had the shock off there, so I can essentially have a, I just might actually have to do that now. I don't feel like messing with that one. Nothing like putting something on and having to take it right back off because you realize you missed a step. That's okay. My videos are here to be informative, so you know not what to do, I suppose. Yeah, these things are really long. You're gonna be sitting here screwing forever. Alright. Got that. So it should, in theory, pop off. In theory. There we go. That thing's on there, huh? Got some good fitment on there. Looks like they put a decent amount of grease in there too, so that's always nice. Looks like there's some extra just sitting right there, so let's spread the love back on top of the gear there. Just want to make sure I get all that grease that fell off the gear there. Just recoat it just that way. It's got a good amount of grease on it again. There you go. It'll keep everything spinning nice and smooth, quiet, all that good stuff there. Alright, SSD brass cover to drop in now. Will only go one way, so make sure that little welded on fake bracket on the diff there is facing towards the bottom. Alright, you can let it sit there like that. Doing a spreader for you. It supplies some extra screws, but let me just see here. They look the same in length, so that's going to be fine. Geez, with how hard that was on it, should we use Loctite? Yeah. We'll just put a little bit right on the edge there. Oh, okay, a little bit turned into a gusher. Alright. Good rule of thumb too, when screwing items on, don't do them in a circular motion. Since there are 4 screws back here on the diff cover, go ahead and do one in the top corner, lower corner across, bottom corner across on that one, and then back up top there in a zigzag pattern. That way everything just gets spread out evenly when you're screwing it on. And then after everything's been snugged to a decent, then you can go in a circular motion just to make sure everything's all tightened down the same. That way nothing's tighter or looser than the other components that you got going on there. So, just almost done with long screw number 1. Long screw number 2 will be next. Like I said, don't really snug it down too tough yet. Just get it in there, just make sure the screw goes all the way through, touches the base plate there just to kind of know it's at the end. And then when it's time to finish it, go ahead and give everything a proper snug down at the end. The base screws are long. Good workout today. It's a good day to be working on the RC trucks too. It's like 90 mile an hour winds here in Vegas almost. Seems like it at least. So no RC trucks today. This thing right here will be taking off in the wind like One of those magical colored leaves in that Pocahontas movie where she sang that song. The color of the wind, or paint with all the colors of the wind, or something like that. There we go. I still got it. Looks like that just doesn't slide through, so I'll probably have to start screwing all the way back here. Maybe you have some strong wrists after this, that's for sure. I could guess I should probably upgrade to like a power drill or something, but I've been using hand tools for so long, it never even crosses my mind anymore. Almost done there. Nice and snug. Nice and snug. Nice and snug. And nice and snug. Cool. All screws seem good. So we'll go ahead and flip the axle back down that way. Get these little thingamajigs back in. Alright. Looks like all those pieces are on there. And they do look very good. That's going to be, oh dude. Oh dude. Got one thing, didn't I? Differential. Let's see if there's a cheater way to get in there. Alright, there you go. Slip out the rear drive shaft there. Alright, get that all snug-delicious. Cool, we got that there. Alright, yeah, so there's going to be those beautiful SSD brass steering knuckles. I say beautiful now because, well, they're in, and I'm not mad at them anymore. Up next, we have those SSD brass suspension links, which I loved before and after because they were easy and effortless. And then the SSD brass rear diff, which is sweet looking, really easy to install too. Only hard install, steering knuckles. Good luck to you. And yeah, don't destroy too many things in your house now. You know, now you got some extras here, just in case you ever decide to go back to plastic, return it to stock, sell it to someone, whatever the case may be, or whatever. Say, for instance, you're just done, and you just want to go back to it. Cool. So after that, in the front there, just to finish it up, get this little, get the little pin, slide that through the little hole on the axle stub there, wherever it may be. Sure it's pretty lined up there. Throw the plastic hex on there, which I will need to totally get rid of. I don't like plastic. Well, I like plastic on certain stuff, but I just, things like that, plastic no bueno. Alright, so all put together there. Truck looks good. Doesn't really feel any heavier. I think it was just like a pound of brass that you're adding on. Maybe if that. I thought I saw a video of some dude, he weighed the two of these. I think they're just over 130 grams combined for the front end, and the rear was just nothing. So yeah, you're not really adding too much weight for the truck. Be more front weight biased if anything, which will help you. Alright, got that there. Cool, now that it's all on, I'll go ahead and power these lights on for you just so you can see what they look like. Pretty sweet, huh? Yeah, and then you can just kind of like slide that on over right there just to see how, there we go. See how she looks with the body on some lights. She probably looks pretty happy. pretty tweet like a tiger. Alright, yeah, looks pretty cool, huh? Yeah, so I did not wind up using the supplied extra screws, which will just go into my extra screw bin for whatever I need in the future. Hopefully this install will either make you decide to want to buy the SSD stuff or not. Or if you're just going to sit back and laugh at me the whole entire time doing this video, hey, if I can make you laugh, awesome. So till next time, guys, I will be back. We will be doing the ProTech 370 TBL servo install on this too, which I totally look forward to. Finally get rid of this garbage servo that Element has supplied us, which I did let them know on their Instagram page. I'm just kind of hoping that they do something about it, because that is just really, like I said, piss poor planning on their part to supply a super weak servo for a much needed stronger one, knowing the IFS wants it. Other than that, we'll have some fun. They did reply to my comment about having the indentations in the body be very poorly seeable. So hopefully they maybe try and do something about that as well. Because I did let them know after last night when I went to go try and modify this to make it a little bit better. I now have 3 body post sized holes just for the snorkel that requires maybe a pinhole as small as a screw to go through there. Because it just wasn't lining up right, and this, that, and the other, and I finally got the line up right. I just had to make giant holes in hopes that this snorkel will cover them, which they kind of did. You'll notice a little bit here on the A-frame, or the A-pillar of your vehicle, that you will kind of notice something in there, but hopefully nobody looks at it and be like, oh dude, this is janky. I hope not, at least. So yeah, thank you for watching. Thank you for staying with me through this long install, and see you next video.